Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside.
Hey scrappers, Tom here. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Hope you're doing well. Last report that we're going to be having here in the month of August. Can't believe it, already going into September next week. So hopefully everyone's going to have a nice Labor Day weekend. Little temperature break here in the Northeast will be happening after today. So hopefully we'll have some nice temperature going into the holiday weekend. Our kids start school next week. I know many of yours have already started. So start to see that traffic picking up on the roads. Not always the most fun thing to see, but hey, it is what it is, right? So we're going to go into our market report. You know, the last few weeks of August are really very unexciting. This year, I would say the most excitement we have is, little spurts of political cycles being pushed in there. But when it comes to commodities, when it comes to trading, it's really not a hot button topic. So, we look at August as a month where people are on vacation, markets are slower, we're waiting for kids to go back into school. September, middle of September is really when things start to pick up again. So that's where we're going to really be headed. But we'll report on some of the things that we've seen. A little overview from the markets over the last week, and we'll start from there. So we'll start right with copper. Copper prices week over week going into this morning before the market opened, we're up almost 4%. Now, the market's down maybe 1% today. So let's say over the last week, the market is up about 3%. So we're looking at about a 12 to 15 cent increase when it came to copper prices over the last week. Now, I like that, and we're seeing lots of people reporting their prices online. When I see a 3% increase, though, and I see pieces of economic news that aren't supporting large job growths or large demands for the materials, it's a little bit of an empty price increase. And what we've started to see happening is on the scrapyard side, they would normally have their same spreads. They would make 15, 20, 30 cents, whatever it was that they wanted to make. But now those spreads are getting a little wider because we saw so much fluctuations. Don't forget, it was only a short 3 weeks ago that we saw copper prices take a 17-cent dip in one day. So, you can't think of, just pretend that that's not going to happen. You can see some of the reported prices up here. But copper is up 3% over the last week, but last month and a half really not great, and that kind of is going to be echoed with some of the prices that you see on here. Let me read a couple of quotes that I got from a few articles that we've read over the last few days. This is from oilprice.com. Copper prices are still declining, primarily driven by weak demand in China due to its struggling property sector and inadequate stimulus measures. While a brief strike at Chile's Escondida mine temporarily halted the price drop, it wasn't enough to reverse the downtrend. So what does this mean? When you see strikes at major mines across the world, that generally bumps the prices up a few cents because you're going to pull some of the future supply out of circulation for a short-term period. Strikes generally don't last forever, a month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe 6 months. So that copper is still sitting in the mine. It's just not getting taken out and put into circulation. So, when that happens, you have a very small temporary constraint, and you're not relying on 10% of the world's copper from one mine. So if you're relying on 1, 2, 3%, that could attribute to some of the 2 or 3% shifts that we see in the market jumps just to offset some of those. But what I look at is China's struggling property sector, right? Chinese continuing to be purchasers of 50% of the world's copper scrap. So if they don't have large increases in what they're going to be doing infrastructure wise, that's not going to help. We also saw the Chinese put into their economy some more stimulus. Hasn't done much. And that's something that we're going to continue to look at, because without the Chinese, without the India really buying stuff, you're not going to see huge market swings going into the last few months of this year. Now, we'll talk later on. I've had a few questions that have come through our YouTube, all of our different social channels over the last week. So we have some questions to answer. But if you do have any questions, please ask away. We're doing this live every Wednesday. We try to go live at 11 a.m. Eastern. So by all means, check us out and ask questions while we're doing this. So what else is going on? Let's go to the steel market. Ugh, I don't really want to talk about the steel market. Let's talk about more of like this copper that's in my background. Steel prices are really shitty. Sorry, I don't swear often on these things. We've seen markets drop about $60 to $70 this summer. And, we're just seeing red, 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 red across the board. We're seeing light iron prices starting to dip their way down. We saw small upticks, but a lot of your reported prices are showing that steel markets are just not strong. Add to that, we're seeing more tensions in the Middle East, which caused some of the oil prices to increase this week. So, you can look at some of these prices here and you can just see that we're not going to have any strong demands right now. There is an item called cold rolled steel. Those are brand new rolls of steel that are created at these different steel mills across the country and across the world. Cold rolled steel, when it gets sold, it's sold as a new product at a per ton basis. We've been seeing those new product sales going down $50 to $100 a ton. Why is that important? Why does that affect scrap steel prices? Well, if the new stuff is going for 50 to 100 a ton less than they were able to sell it, that means that they have too much stuff and they're trying to do a little bit of a sale, and that means that you're going to see prices on what they're bringing in going down, and that's exactly what's happened. And I don't see an increase coming this month, next month. Really, I don't see an increase coming this year. If we do, it is going to be so negligible, $10 $20 a ton. I would continue to sell your steel as quickly as you get it into the trucks, trailers, dumpsters. Get it out. Nothing good happening here. I have a hard sell on all steel products right now, including rotors. I wouldn't keep anything. I would get it in and I would get it right out because I just don't see optimistic markets. I also am seeing problems with shipping. I read an article and I talked to someone that talked about the Red Sea and some of the shipping problems. You're having problems in Ukraine, in Russia, in the Middle East, and all around there you have waterways. Those waterways move thousands of tons of scrap in and out of Turkey, India, and other countries. Well, now we're seeing problems where the price on the ships and the barges are going up because you're having so much hostility in the area. They're building prices into some of the vulnerability and some of the exposure that these large ships have. That also hurt the steel markets. So that really stinks because you're seeing these world economic events and world events that are affecting the scrap prices, and it is what it is. It's not just about what's happening here in the United States. It really isn't. It's everywhere. It's like oil. Oil prices aren't a US based thing. They're a worldwide thing. That goes for all commodities: wheat, soy, iron, copper, palladium, platinum. So any of those things. So we have a few other things that we want to talk. Oh, we got a question here from Jacob. Great. Do you guys buy carbide tipped asphalt mill teeth as carbide or number two? Neither. You can't buy it as carbide because of the steel. Our friends over at rrcarbide.com will give you some prices on those. Those road milling bits have a specific price. I wouldn't sell them as a number two steel. They're generally worth more than that. The ends are on them. The carbide tips on those road milling bits are really hard to get off, so I would never, try to remove them. You sell them as is, but please check out rrcarbide.com. You can get some prices and give some quotes on those things, get some quotes on those. But we'll talk about carbide for a second. Carbide prices really are pretty strong. We've seen these markets increasing this summer. We've seen some of the prices that we're quoting out to customers from $7 to $8.50 going out there. So we're seeing some stronger numbers in the $6.50 to $7 range for smaller lots. And carbide is a hard item because everyone thinks, when you have a drill bit that it's carbide. Carbide has a very distinct characteristic. It's made of tungsten and it's mixed with a couple of other alloys. And that tungsten is so strong, it's used heavily in the machining industry. So if you're going to Home Depot, Lowe's to buy some new drill bits, those aren't carbide, those are regular steel. There's really three types of drill bits. There's regular steel, one's kind of a hardened steel drill bit. There's high speed steel, which does have some chrome, some nickel inside of it to make it a little stronger. Those are generally what's used primarily in medical industries or inside of the milling industry, kind of the metal works. They'll use high speed steel, but carbide is kind of the creme de la creme. It's a top, it cuts the best, it gives you a really nice smooth cut on it. You can check out rrcarbide.com to learn more about high speed steel, different carbide solids. It's not easy to do, and we have some videos through iScrap that we've posted over the years, so check out some of those. You can see some other materials that are out there and learn a little more about those. Other updates. We talked about steel, and I'll just read this real quick from Steel Industry News. Domestic steel is in flux due to the upcoming U.S. election. The steel industry's future is deeply tied to the election, with tariffs, trade, and union dynamics playing a crucial role in shaping the industry's trajectory. And this really, I could break this down in its own video, and maybe I'll do that for some of our members only. If you're looking to learn more background about stuff, we have a members only channel inside of YouTube that you can join. We post a couple of videos every week to just update people on what's going on. So if you want more scrap information or you want to hear things throughout the week instead of just the one time a week weekly report, please subscribe to our YouTube member page for that. But right now, the election, elections have consequences, good and bad, right? For many people, the tariffs that were placed on the Chinese years ago by the Trump administration that have continued to be kept in place by the Biden-Harris administration, that could hurt some of the steel prices. And going into next year with the new administration, I don't know where they're going to go. More tariffs could hurt steel, but it could start to increase some of the domestic product, because if we see less material shipping, out of the country to some of these places, I don't know. You could play this so many ways. Now we're playing the hypothetical what if game. I don't love that. So let's just let things kind of unfold and we'll see what happens. But steel will be lower for the balance of this year, at least through the election. But then the problem is you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's right afterwards. So you're not going to see aggressive natures until the end of the first quarter of next year. So we'll talk about a few other things. I'll talk briefly about catalytic converters. Oh, we got a question that popped up here. We can answer this one. Question: how come scrap yards don't accept ingots even if they can scan them with an XRF gun to confirm their metal grade? So an XRF is not used to go through the ingot, right? It's used to scan the surface of the ingot. So if you have an ingot that's, this big, whatever that big is, like an ingot like we see on, Fort Knox or something like that, the XRF scans the outside. So even if the scrapyard takes a grinder, grinds the outside down to get that top layer off, and then they analyze it, it's still not telling you what's inside. And for all of the good characters, there's always a bad character. And I have heard horror stories about people having ingots filled with steel. They start to pour them. They put ingots inside. You can see a video reference back during the winter that we made. Ingots could have steel inside of them. And if there's steel inside of them and we grind the outside and we shoot it with the XRF and we analyze it, how do we know it's on the inside? So that's one of those questions that really comes down to, how do we know that it's true? So for the 99 people that are doing a good job, the one guy that's putting steel in it kind of ruins it for the rest of us. So hopefully that helps. Another question: can you touch on the growing demand of international conflicts and their effect on copper prices? Sure. I've talked about this for years. Wars have consequences, trading barriers, tariffs, slowdowns, interest rates, different countries having different lockdown rules from COVID. There's so many things that could change prices, that the international conflicts, many people think that war causes prices to go up because you need that metal. It's really more of a post-war rebuilding time that you may see prices increasing. During wars, it's more about getting those ammunitions, those bullets, out there. And sure, you do need more metal, but you're more worried about winning or ending a war or getting out of a war than you are rebuilding parts of your country. Because what does parts of your country need? They need men, they need women, they need machines, they need trucks, and all of those that would be diverted to building are now fighting the war effort or the cleanup efforts. So it's a hard thing to really put all that together to come up with where war factors in with the scrap metal prices. Another question coming in. How can I start becoming an e-scrapper? What are some good rules of thumb? Number one, use the iScrap app, right? Lots of videos on there. Knowing what you're touching is really important. So before you just start picking up random things on the street, oh, I see an old television, or it's a flat screen TV, or it's an old laptop. Learn about them. Learn about what's inside those. Learn about what you can sell, where you're going to sell. Utilize the iScrap apps, our directory for metals, so you can look at the electronics recycling, and then you can start to either shop locally by searching some scrap yards online, or you can sell to people that offer online services. My scrapyard Rockaway Recycling offers online services. We'll have another division coming in the coming weeks specifically for computer scrap. But if you go to our overall website, you're going to be able to learn about all types of electronics, do's and don'ts, what's worth money, what's not worth money. We try to give you a good idea. So there's a dozen or so items on there that you can check out. So e-scrapping, it's one of the hardest things is finding a good outlet. So once you can find an outlet, then you can start to go out and really start moving your materials. One thing that we didn't really talk about too much, and I'd like to talk about this briefly, is not Carbide, is catalytic converters. Catalytic converter prices, people thought that we were going to saw platinum kind of increase like gold was increasing. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. This morning, for instance, we saw platinum go down to $907 an ounce. But the team over at rrcats.com constantly, daily updating their prices, daily updating their quoting numbers. So, platinum, palladium, not a lot of good news. I read a couple of articles that talked about both of these metals decreasing substantially in volume. People were even talking about how platinum is used so much in jewelry, but in China right now, there's I guess it would be a trend, right? Like a fashion trend where people are going more towards gold jewelry than they are platinum jewelry. That's going to hurt, one of the biggest market for platinum, the catalytic converters or the lack thereof. Hopefully will increase platinum prices as they move away from palladium and rhodium prices. But you got EVs in there. Go look at any of the videos that I've posted the last few months about, our weekly reports and catalytic converters. Not a lot of great news coming from there. I continue to turn and burn, get it out as quickly as you can. So check out rrcats.com for that. Stainless steel down slightly. It's going to be one of the few items I'm recommending holding right now. I would hold Bear Bright. I would hold stainless. Bear Bright prices, sure, we did have that nice 3% jump in the last few days, but I still think that we're going to see a resurgence of the market in 2025. I think we're going to see a nice run up, back to the 450 level. But again, these are speculations off of articles and conversations with people. So overall, markets are August. It is what it is. We'll see you next week in September. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Please comment below, post your prices, check things out online. If you're looking for more content, our members only area on YouTube gives you that, along with videos that we drop every week on top of reels that we have going out there, our market news and notifications on the app for iPhones and Droids. So check those things out, scrappers. Today's Wednesday, August 28th. My name is Tom Buchel from Rockaway Recycling and the iScrap app. And until next week, I'll scrap you later.
Thanks for watching our video. For $2.99 a month, by becoming a member, you can get access to early videos, member-only videos, merchandise discounts from our store, and priority comments that we answer before answering any other scrappers. Click the link below to learn more. Until next time, scrap you later.